true. True. And I promise you this, if you put me back in the White House, and Iowa and Nebraska, you're very important states, their reign will be over and America will be a free nation once again. We're not a free nation. We don't have free press. We have a crooked press. We have a corrupt media. No, think of it. They have absolute proof that Biden's being paid off by China, Ukraine, and many other countries. And the press doesn't even write about it. That would have been 10 years ago. That would have been the biggest story in history. It's 100 times bigger than Watergate. That would have been the biggest, and they don't even put it on the news. They don't. You look, if there's anything, you know, they feel guilty because they have the biggest story in history, and they are cowards. They're corrupt. Or maybe they're afraid. I don't know. But if you see something, it's always way in the back, a little tight. This way they say, well, no, we discuss. We have a president of the United States who's a stone-cold, corrupt thief, and who's willing to arrest his opponent, who's leading him substantially in the polls. And then they go out and they say, oh, no, we really want to run against him. If they want to run against me, they wouldn't be indicting me. They'd say, I hope this guy goes, they'd say, make it nice and smooth. No, because we're leading by a lot, and we're going to win because we have no choice. If we don't win this election, we're not going to have a country. We're not going to have a country. There's going to be nothing left, and we can't let that happen. Just think of what we have already achieved in our 4 incredible years. We delivered the largest tax cuts and regulatory cuts in the history. These are the biggest cuts in the history of our country. And likewise, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. We had it going just before COVID came in. Nobody had ever seen numbers. African-American, Asian-American, Hispanic-American, women, men, people with diplomas, people without diplomas, people #1 at MIT, and people that could barely get a job before. Everybody was working and everybody was happy. And even very, very far left people were coming up to me and saying, let's get together. The country was coming together. It was amazing. And then we had COVID. We had to go through a different thing. And then even then, we handed over. We did an amazing job, got not nearly enough credit for the job we did. We were making ventilators for all the nations of the world. Within about 3 months, we were all geared up and took car plants and changed them into ventilator plants. It was, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And we gave you a stock market that was higher than just before COVID came in. I mean, think of it. And then it's a series of horrible mistakes. They closed down our energy industry, essentially. They want wind. They want wind. Everything's fine. They want wind. They want all sorts of things. They want the Green New Deal. You know who came up with the Green New Deal? A poor student who has a good line of bullshit, who came up and said, she said, the Green New Deal. Nobody knew what the hell she was talking about. It's mostly fake stuff. And we're spending trillions and trillions of dollars of ruining our country. The oceans will rise over the next 3 years by 1/8 of an inch. But they're not worried about a country that's 600 miles away that's loaded up with nuclear weapons. That's not a risk. But the ocean's rising over the next 300 years. That's a risk. Creates more beachfront property, actually. That's the way you have to view it. So we have people that are just, what they're doing is so horrible. What's so horrible? And I'm a big environmentalist. I am truly an environmentalist. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want great fuel standards. I want great everything. But they're destroying our country. And if you look at China, they're building coal plants all over China, while we look at hoping the wind blows, okay? Hoping it blows. Darling, darling, I'd like to watch our president on television tonight. I'm sorry, we have no energy. The wind isn't blowing. We created the most secure border in U.S. history, built nearly 500 miles of border wall, got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. Thank you. And then we negotiated remain in Mexico with Mexico. You think that was easy? Mr. President, we want to have everybody remain in Mexico. You think he said, oh, that would be lovely? No. Because these are rough people that were coming into our country and are coming in at numbers that nobody will believe. I believe the real number by the end of the year could be 15 million people. You don't hear that number. That's bigger than New York State. Ended the ridiculous catch and release program. That's where you catch somebody and release them into our country and tell them to come back in 4 years for a trial. Nobody ever comes back. And deported illegal alien gang members. We deported by the tens of thousands, MS-13 and gang members into their country. And you know, their countries wouldn't take them before I came in. And you might have heard it. The country would say, because when I said, get these people out of our country, they said, we can't do that because their countries won't take them back. Guatemala, El Salvador, Mexico to an extent, other countries, many other countries, they wouldn't take them back. You know, why should they? They dump them in here and they don't want to take them back. So with the 4 countries, our neighbors, I said, how much money do we pay them a year? $700 million, sir. I say, call them and tell them they are no longer getting $700 million. They wouldn't take them back. In other words, would fly a plane load full of gang members. How would you like to be the pilot of that particular plane? That wouldn't be a lot of fun. You know, you're flying, you're looking back, because these are seriously bad people, these people. These are not good people. But they wouldn't take the planes. They would put planes on the runway so we couldn't land. They wouldn't let the buses in. They wouldn't let the boats in, which send them by the water, Pacific. Would send them by water. Would send them through the Gulf. They wouldn't take the boats. They'd turn them away. So I say, well, that's terrible. But they're the ones that sent them here. They wanted them to come. They put them in these caravans. I think I came up with that name, where thousands of people would come in, and you had many, many people that were gang members and prisoners, people in mental institutions, as I said. So I said, inform the countries that we're not paying anymore, as of effective immediately. And they would say, no, we have no. One of the generals said, sir, they will not take them. I said, why? Well, they just won't, sir. They don't want them back. I said, but I want them to go back. So I said, inform them, $700 million, which is peanuts compared to what we give to other countries that rip us off, actually worse. So I said, here's the story. If they should call, let me know when. So this was in an afternoon. The following morning, I think it was a Friday morning, I get a call from all 3 countries in particular, from all 3 countries, almost at the same time, but separate calls. Mr. President, I understand you're upset with us. Please, we don't want to do that. I said, well, you're not taking back the people that you happen to send into our country. They're terrorists. They're bad people. You can handle them better than we can. You have to take them back. Sir, we would be honored to take them back. I had no idea there was a problem. Please send them back. These generals couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, we're sending thousands of people out of our country back to these countries from where they came. This went on for years during the Obama administration, for years, and Bush. But this went on for years during previous administrations. They wouldn't take them back. I wouldn't take them back if I were them either. Look, these are streetwise people. These leaders are tough, and they're smart, and they're mean. And they think we're stupid. You know, they think the United States is this country that's run by really stupid people. They want to be politically correct, but it's not politically correct. They're dumb. And I did it in one phone call. I did it with Macron in France, because you know this. He went to put on a tax on all American companies doing business in France. And I gave it to our Secretary of the Treasury. I said, Steve, go and negotiate something very strong, because it's really, they can't let this happen. They're going to tax only American companies very substantially. And they came back, and anyway, bottom line, after a couple of weeks, they couldn't make a deal. They come back again. I said, I got 1 more week, and then I'll take care of it. Couldn't make a deal. I call them up. I say, Emmanuel, how are you? Oh, I am so fine. Beautiful accent. I love their accent. I could never imitate that beautiful French accent. Oh, I am so happy to speak to you, Mr. President. It's such a great honor. Now, Emmanuel, let me ask you, I hear you're taxing, you want to pass, and it's going along very fast, and pretty soon you're going to be taxing all American countries doing business in France. Is that a correct statement? Oh, yes, it has passed, and thank you for calling. Thank you so much. I said, no, you don't understand. We're not going to let you do that. No, 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 it is too late to do anything about it. I said, here's the story, Emmanuel. If you don't terminate that immediately, like I mean today, we are going to tax all of your wine and champagne that comes into the United States. We are going to put a tariff on it of 100%. No, 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 you can't do that. No. I said, well, maybe I can't, but I have the document here, and I've already signed it. This goes into effect at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. All wine and champagne coming in from France is taxed at 100%. We're putting a tariff on. I said, so you have 15 minutes to let me know what you want to do. No, no, no. I will call you back. Calls me back in about 3 minutes. President, we have decided that in order to have a fine relationship with the United States, we will not be putting any tax on American businesses, right? Meaning jobs. A lot of these people I was saving, I don't even like them. They're not even very good people, but I got to do what's right for the country, right? But you can do a lot of that. I did many, many, many of those things with a phone call. We appointed